Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Horror Room. I'm Travis Bruce, and today I have a special guest with us. He's an actor. I mean, listen, this guy's has starred in some classics, everything from Trick or Treat to Scooby Doo 2, but we mostly know him from the movie 13 Ghosts. I have with us actor C. Ernst Harth. C. Ernst, welcome to the Horror Room.
Hey, thanks for having me. I'm happy to be here.
Pleasure to have you on. Pleasure to have you on. Listen, I was looking through your record. You have been in a lot of classic, iconic horror films. So how did you get started into acting?
Well, there's two, there's the acting professionally, and then there's acting period. The acting period, when I went into kindergarten, I didn't know this, but the school that I had started at, they had a Christmas pageant every year, and it was tradition in the school that the largest kid in the school play. Back when you could probably get away with this, the largest kid in the school would play Santa Claus in the Christmas pageant, and it was K-5, so it was usually grade 4s and grade 5s, the seniors of the school that were in the Christmas pageant. Well, one year, the first year I was in school, I was asked to be Santa Claus. I was in kindergarten, yet I was the biggest kid in the entire school. So it was basically my size that forced me into acting because, right away, right from kindergarten, we want you to be, and what that did to my head, it just played with it because all of a sudden, here's this scared not little, but in my head, I'm still little. I never think of myself as big, right? So here's this little kid sitting on stage, but I'm sitting in like a throne, and I'm on stage with all the grade 4s and grade 5s, and I'm this little kindergartner sitting there, and I've got the entire room at my beck and call, and it was just like a moment of like stardom, like the lights flashing, like going off saying, oh my God, I need this in my life. And even though none of that was actually communicated, it was just like that feeling in your body that, it's not until you get older and you look back at life and you realize that was the moment that the bug hit me, was when I was forced on stage because of my size. And then jump ahead. So then through school, I did all the school plays and the assemblies, and then did improv and skits and stuff. And a friend of mine, him and I, we would go to the old age homes in the neighborhood, the seniors' homes, and we would put on we would do like Whose Line Is It Anyway? We would do like these improv games for the seniors, and just to get because nobody would go visit them, and they're basically just waiting to die. And so we would just go in there and put some smiles on their face and have some fun and get them to make noises and, like sound effects and all that kind of stuff. So they did all that through school. And this was back in Ontario, Canada. And then a friend of mine once, when I was about 19, he asked me one day, we're sitting in a donut shop. He says, what do you want to do today? I said, I don't know. He says, you want to go to Vancouver? I had no idea what Vancouver was, where Vancouver was. I didn't know nothing. I said, sure. I had nothing to do. So we just packed up. The next morning, jumped on a bus. 4.5 days later, we were on the west coast of Canada. Get off the bus, and I basically ended up living in basically in the hotels and in like Skid Row downtown, basically, because that was the only part of town that he had ever been to when he was out in Vancouver. So that's where I ended up. So I ended up getting a job at a nightclub, and I was working as a doorman, and basically 2 women approached me one night and they said, excuse me, are you in the film industry? And I said, no, I'm a doorman. You know what they were talking about? They go, well, you have an interesting face. I think we could do something with you. Why don't you give us a call and we'll see if we can set something up? And they gave me a card. I didn't even look at the card because I'm thinking, what a bunch of chicks just trying to pick me up, whatever. Yeah. Right? So I just put the card in my pocket, and a couple weeks later, I'm at home and I'm cleaning up paperwork and stuff on my desk. And I come across this card that I had thrown there when I came home from work that night. And I look at it and I'm reading it, and it turns out they were actually talent agents, and they must have saw something they liked in me. So I called them within a week, I was on a set of a short film. Later that week, I was shooting my first commercial, and it was just like, once again, I'm basically forced into something. Even though acting the clown and acting the fool was who I was at home, it was like forced into it at school, and then now forced into it more or less as a career. And it's like, you keep yourself open to the universe. You never know where you're going to get it pushed, where the universe is going to lead you. So that's how I got into acting, both time professionally and just acting period, was basically saying, hey, you got something we need, come with me.
And that's interesting that you said it, because I have a lot of viewers who are trying to break into the horror scene, or even the indie side.
Yeah,
trying to break in, and and one of the questions is like, how do you do that? And from the sounds of you, it's just like be there at the right time.
Well, yeah, and I in the last couple of years, I've joined a lot of the horror groups, the horror community online, especially through Facebook. A lot of the Facebook groups. It started because I had to cancel a bunch of convention appearances, and I wanted people who were wanting to see me to be able to have an opportunity to still, connect with me. And so I've been selling my convention prints directly online, and I sign them whoever wants one. So to get the word out, I joined a bunch of these horror groups online and became a friend with a lot of people through these horror communities. And it's amazing. That right there is your first step. It's like, just know the people. Everyone is all one big happy family. There's I've seen it breaks into sects almost. It's like, there's like the cool kids over here and the nerdy kids over here, and we don't talk to the cool kids. I'm starting to see within the horror community, there's like the people who like that movie and the people who hate that movie. Yeah. But if you find your gang, your group, you just got to make yourself available. It's like, if there's somebody in your neighborhood or in your state or your city is wanting to put together a short film, or they're putting together an indie horror film or whatever, and they need zombies, they need people in the background, they need people to play corpses, dead people, whatever, just make yourself available. Help out as a production assistant. They need someone to help drive people. They need someone to hold something. Just make yourself available. Get yourself into the mix, because the best, especially with these indie horror films, it's a lot of times it's availability over ability. It's like we really need some people to do these positions who know what they're doing, but we'll take people who don't know what they're doing just so we can have someone there. You never held a boom mic before. Can you put your arms up? There, you can hold a boom mic. Once you figure it out, it can't go below this level, got to stay above this level. That's about all you really need to know to do that kind of stuff. So it's like, a lot of times, because I've produced 4 films in the past, and as a producer, that's the biggest thing I've learned on the indie scene, is just, if you don't have the money, there's people who just want to make movies along with you. And, you can, you can make a feature for a few $1,000s if you're not concerned with, it being a Hollywood blockbuster. You got a story to tell. Nowadays, you can use your cell phone. Anybody can make a story. And that's the thing, 30 years ago, 35 years ago, when I got into this, film was still film. If you wanted to make a movie, a 16 millimeter film, you had to go buy the film stock. You had to pay for the developing. There was some real effort. So not as many movies were made, and it was hard. Yeah. And it was hard to, we're talking $20,000 just for developing costs. And that doesn't even include the cost of the film, those kind of things. But that is gone now. Now it's like when we were submitting when we started producing films in the 90s, and we would submit to festivals, and we would find out that they were receiving 350 films. Now, the last film that we produced, I remember we submitted it, for example, to the Atlanta Film Festival, and I think they had received 6,700 films that they were choosing like 140 from. And it's like, when it was harder to make films, it was also easier to get noticed, because you already made the big step, which was getting the thing made. That's why guys like Kevin Smith and those guys, it was such an ordeal to get the thing made and such an expense, and so much was needed that it was much easier to get into a festival, and it was much easier for people to go, oh my God, we love what you did. We're going to buy your thing. And that's why you hear all those stories of the filmmakers who, they went to Sundance with their little film and they made $1 million sale. Well, now that everybody's got a cell phone with a camera on it, none of those $1 million sales are pretty rare. And you're talking about like Venice Film Festival and award-winning films with stars in them that are making those kind of deals now. But yeah, if you just want to act, if you just want to be in movies, just make yourself available, be around people. When people say they're looking for someone, even if it's nothing you've ever done, just put your hand up and say, I don't have any experience, but I'd love to help. And even if you're just a production assistant, even if you're just squirting blood in somebody's face, eventually, if you're around the same people, eventually someone will be squirting blood in your face,
I agree.
Yeah. And with what I've noticed with the horror community is it seems like it's the hungriest genre of films out there too. It's like everybody has a horror story they want to tell. It's not like you have thousands of people making a beautiful coming of age drama, but you want to slash some zombies' heads off. Everyone's willing to make those kind of movies. And so, yeah, just make yourself available. That's been the thing that's taken care of me for the last 35 years is just making yourself available and putting your hand up when you have a suggestion and saying, can I say something?
And listen, and I 100% agree with you. So before I started my channel, I wanted to just be in a horror movie. I don't care if it was indie, low budget, whatever. I just wanted to be in so bad. And I did not know the steps to how to do it. So like this, I'm pretty sure you heard it. This Face of Horror contest came out. Mm-hmm. And the prize, which is still out, and the prize is you get a walk-on role on an indie horror film, right? And people. I mean, there's some talented people who are in this contest. Makeup artists, actors, producers, everything, right? And they are signing for this scam-ass contest, but spending thousands of dollars. Mm-hmm. And they're not going to get a role in a movie or anything. And like when I was in a contest, that was my goal, to be in a movie. I had no idea that all I had to do was to go and sign up for these indie horror Facebook groups, like you said. Yeah. And I'm telling you, it's easy as that. I mean, you see, okay, they're making blood and breakfast in Baltimore, Maryland. I live in Baltimore. Boom. It's easy as that.
Yeah. That's it. Before the internet, when, everything was by mail and everything was like fan groups and newsletters and stuff, even 30 years ago, it was still pretty hard. The internet has just opened the world up and has let people find like-minded people, mm-hmm. And, all you needed was a place for people that want to make a film and people who want to be in a film to find each other. And before, it was like whoever you knew, you'd ask your friend, you'd ask your buddy, you'd ask your cousin, whatever. Yeah. But now, people are willing to drive from 3 states over just to be in a film as a zombie or to be a dead body. So take advantage of it. You're because I will say this to anyone who wants to do this kind of stuff, you will never find family like you find on a film set, because the thing I like about a film production is, be it 10 people or be it 300 people, you have all these people with one goal in mind to make the best film. Everyone, imagine if in society, it's like just grab 500 people and every single one of those people have different opinions. They have different beliefs. They have different religions, different politics, different everything. But that doesn't matter. They're all here to make the best film possible. If you could just have that in society, where we're all just focused on the common good, that's what I love about. That's why when COVID first started, the safest place I felt was on a film set, because I knew everyone that's there wants to be there and is going to do what is necessary to make this, safe for us to do this. And it got to the point where, everybody was in a different a code. You were red, you were orange, you were 3, you were 2, you were 1, which meant if you were an actor, you could be without a mask on set because, you're on film. But anybody who came in contact with you had to have gloves or a mask or this or that. And, when you had to go to set and you'd get into the van, the Teamster would come around and he would close the door to make sure there's nothing is passing from person to person. Only one person could open the door. Only one person could close the door. And so it's like once again, because everybody is trying to make the best of this situation, I felt so much safer on a film set than all of a sudden you're on the city bus and you're like, you're sitting there,
coughing and hacking,
yeah, and one person is against the vaccine, another person's got 6 vaccines. But on a film set, we're all being tested every day. It was a hassle, but what was the alternative to that? Not work. Like a lot of people, at least they figured out a way, to keep the ball rolling. Mm-hmm. And so anyone who is, lonely at home and is loves horror films and loves talking online with people, get on a film set. It's the instant family, and you'll make forever friends. And what I've noticed is the lower the budget, the stronger the friendships. You get on these big movies. It's like when I first started 35 years ago, every time I'd get hired on a film, I thought I was making the best friends of my life that I'm going to be friends with forever. And you're like, because you're like in such close quarters with these people from the first thing in the morning till lot of times it's like late into the morning. You're there for 15, 16, 17 hours. It's pouring rain. You're all huddled, everything. And, you're bleeding together. You're sweating together. You're working together. You're loving together. And then at the end of the production, you think, we're going to be buddies forever. And then it's like the greatest marriages ripped apart by divorce at the end of every film, and then the next film starts and the people all come together, and sometimes there's some people from the last thing, but mostly it's new people. And after 35 years, it's like I'm scared to even admit that I like people when I'm working with them, because it's like why should I invest in this? It's like I'm trying to be this guy's best buddy, but I know that as soon as the film is done, everyone goes their own direction. It's not like you're working in the office where you see these people every day for as long as you stay there. Yeah. It's like the length of the film and that's it. And that's what I find is like the lower the budget, because then you're completely dependent on these people, right? So, you end up becoming like blood brothers, because you actually on films where nobody's making any money and everybody's bending over backwards to get the thing done. You will make friends for life, but don't think that that's going to continue. The higher the budget gets, all of a sudden the dollar becomes more important than the people making the film. As we've seen with like Warner Brothers, completely canceling things that haven't even been released. That's when you realize it's not about those 300 people that made the thing.
It's about the bottom line. That's all it's about. Now, you've worked on some big budget movies. Like I said in the beginning, you worked on Scooby-Doo 2, 13 Ghosts, Trick or Treat. What was that like the first time you walked on a big set?
Yeah, that would have to be, first of all, I'd say that would be 1996. That would have to be Excess Baggage. I worked for 6 days with Alicia Silverstone, Christopher Walken, and Benicio del Toro, and 2 other actors, Bill Croft and Adrian Dorval, 2 Canadian actors, excuse me. And that was the first time. It was like, it's one thing to see somebody famous in a crowd, but when you're sitting in the trailer, in the van, going to set, and you're sitting with someone, and you're so nervous, you can't believe you're here, and then you get to set, and you keep pitching yourself, going, I'm sitting at this table, and then table right there, that's Christopher Walken, and that's Alicia Silverstone, and there's Benicio del Toro, and they know who Ernst is, because when the director says my name, they look at me, and it's like you spend the entire time trying to act nonchalant. You're the whole time you're trying, like, this is an everyday occurrence. I'm buddies with all these people. This is no big deal. But you're constantly having conversations with yourself. So that was a big thing, was getting to set and being there, just being around famous people, which takes a bit. Once the ball's rolling, then all of a sudden everybody is just, we're all just employees at the same company making the same widgets, right? But then the next step on these big productions is when you go onto a set, for example, like Scooby-Doo 2, Monsters Unleashed, where you have these monstrous size sets. Like in Scooby-Doo 2, you have the Monster Hive. It's like this big cave where they got all this machinery, and the costumes of the monsters are up on this thing, and they go in, and it's like walking into the world of the movie. I remember playing Minor 49er on that movie. I had so much makeup and so much costume wardrobe that my wife would come to work with me. She worked for a company that was on the internet. So while I spent 6.5 hours getting my makeup done, she would sit in the chair next to me on her computer, putting in a full day's work. So by the time I went to set, she's already worked 8 hours. And now she was basically my assistant. And so when we weren't shooting, I'd be walking around the studio with her, and we go, what's around this corner? Because, as an actor, you only know the sets you've been on. You only know the locations you've worked on, but you're not in every scene, so you don't know everything, right? Yeah. So we're walking around this studio, and we're like, what's around here? And all of a sudden, you realize, I'm inside Mystery Inc.'s clubhouse. Oh my God. And it's like all the colors, and it just blows your mind. Like, it's like, even as an employee of the film, it still takes a bit to get used to walking onto a set, and it's a set you recognize, and it's like you're in that world all of a sudden. And then you add the actors on top of that, like on Scooby-Doo, all of a sudden you're standing there and you're like, that's Daphne. That's it's like things that you've known your entire life that you grew up with. And so, now I've gotten to do 2 Scooby-Doo movies. So I've worked with 2 different Mystery Incs. and 2 different Scooby-Doos, because I also did Scooby-Doo 3, which was the Scooby-Doo Mystery Begins. It was the TV movie that came after the second film from the Cartoon Network, where they went back to high school, and they had different actors playing them, and they went back to high school to show how Scooby-Doo, how the Mystery Inc. became, and how Scooby-Doo was found by Shaggy and all that stuff. So I got to work with another crew. So getting the opportunity to do 2 Scooby-Doos, and getting to work with the Muppets, getting to work with Air Bud, getting to do all those Disney talking dog movies. It's like, it's so bizarre that because it's one thing to just work on a film, but when you're working on these franchises, or you're working on this intellectual property, these things that you grew up with, that is when you realize your career has taken you to another place, another level, when you're walking on film sets and you're in lands that you recognize. Okay. Like when you're sitting at a table and you're doing a scene with Kermit the Frog, and you're already blowing your mind because you're sitting with Kermit the Frog. The difference is now, if I just look over to the right, there's a guy on a creeper sliding around on the floor with his hand in the air, and he's got a monitor on his neck and a microphone. And it's like, you spend your whole life watching the Muppets, and their total existence ends at the end of the TV frame, right? So you've got this here, and that's what's inside it, is the world of the Muppets. And now you've grown up with that. And now all of a sudden you're seeing the hand coming out of the back of the Muppet. You're seeing the guy on the ground and everything. it's constantly playing games with your head. It's like, I'm in this world, but this world is not what I remember it being, because I don't remember these guys down here. So it's always neat to, it's like when you see yourself in a movie on TV or something, as a viewer watching a movie, you're seeing what the camera sees, but you'll never experience the film the way an actor has, because I was there, so I saw the complete opposite side.
Yeah.
But, I saw all the crew standing there bored out of their mind. There's a guy over here on his phone and he's doing something funny and you're trying not to be distracted by it. And there's like life happening. So it's always hard for me when I watch a movie that I've been in to get into the story, because it takes so long to get past. This shot reminds me of Dan. That was the day he came in. He was sick from the potato soup we had at craft service the day before.
That whole backstory. Yeah, whole backstory that most people don't know about.
No. So it's like every movie I've been on, there's what I remember from it. I have to watch it like 3 or 4 times until I can just forget about all that stuff and now just get into the story.
Because I can imagine, just like, growing up, I was huge He-Man and X-Men fan. That'd be like if I walked on the next Master of the Universe set or X-Men movie. That would be fucking mind-blowing to me.
Mm-hmm.
Now you've also got to work with a lot of actors and actresses, and was there? I know you said you try to pretend like you weren't starstruck, but was there an actor or actress that you worked with that you were like, oh my god, that's such and such?
It's funny. It's like I remember I worked on an episode of Legends of Tomorrow, the DC show on CW, and I knew that Victor Garber was on that show. And as a kid, or as a teenager, when I got into films, I fell in love with a musical called Godspell. And he plays he's basically a metaphor for Jesus. He plays basically Jesus in the movie, and he's got a big afro. And so when I worked on Legends of Tomorrow, I brought my DVD with me from the Godspell DVD, and it was like, can I? And it's like, I don't usually ask for autographs, but there's certain, and it's never people you would think it's going to be. I've worked with some of the biggest stars in the world, but it's usually, as a character actor, it's usually people of the same ilk. It's like people that you respect for the characters they've played, or their side characters, or there's something like. I remember I was all excited to work with Lynn Shay, who most people don't even know whose name that is, and then they know the characters she's played, and from The Conjuring and all those movies, or from There's Something About Mary, playing the lady with the big tan, or the Kingpin where she's like,
oh yes.
Everybody knows that actress. So when I worked with her on Say It Isn't So, the Farrelly Brothers film that I did, where I played Mr. Campese, I was like a mental patient who was obsessed with pancakes, and the whole movie, my character has nothing to do with the story, has nothing to do with it's just like every time they cut to me, I'm on my own little journey for pancakes in this film. And, and Orlando Jones and Chris Klein, I basically break out of the mental institution with them, and I'm on my own little journey for pancakes, and you just keep cutting back to me. So when I got to work with her, was another thing where it's like I was thrilled because I was getting to meet Lynn Shay. And then we end up doing a scene where I start freaking out because I get excited, and so I jump up and I start screaming, pancakes, pancakes, pancakes. And now she's Nurse Batista. She's the nurse. She's trying to calm things down. So she comes out with a cattle prod, starts prodding my character with the cattle prod, but it's not taking me down. So she jumps up on the table, jumps on my back, and she's riding me like a bucking bronco in the middle of this cafeteria, and I'm in like a pajamas and a house coat, and she's riding me on my back. And of course, that entire scene got cut from the movie, so you just see the very beginning of that scene where I jump up and I start screaming pancakes, and then it cuts away from that. And I'm so glad that 20th Century Fox, one of the photos that they had released to promote the movie was her riding on my back. So at least I have it on my IMDb page, the picture of her riding me like a bucking bronco. So it's like, but as far as, like I said, as far as autographs, I've never, Christopher Walken, thankfully, I didn't have to really interact with him. I got to sit at another table. But as far as Starstruck, the best story to tell for that is when I worked on Capote with Philip Seymour Hoffman as Truman Capote. I play Lowell Lee Andrews, and he was a guy in Kansas who killed his entire family. He was 20 or 22 years old. He killed his entire family because he wanted to get the insurance money so that he could then move to Chicago and become a gangster. You know, the minds of mentally ill people never make sense. Okay, so I'm playing this guy in Capote, and he's on death row, and he's across the hall from the two guys at the movie Capote's about, the in cold blood killers, Perry Hickok, Perry Smith and Dick Hickok. Are the two main guys in Capote. So we're doing the scene on death row where they're sitting across in their jail cells and I'm sitting in my jail cell. And this is where Philip Seymour Hoffman as Capote comes to death row for the first time to meet them. And this is the first time we're getting to see him. And also as an actor, this is the first time I'm getting to see Philip Seymour Hoffman because I haven't seen him yet in the studio, on set, anywhere. I haven't seen him. And I know Philip Seymour Hoffman to be this big schlubby guy. You know, he's a bit overweight. He's usually got a big scruffy beard and everything. And so this whole time I've been racking my brain trying to picture him as Truman Capote, who's this tiny, short, little effeminate gay guy. And I'm thinking, how is Philip? So okay, we're going to do the first blocking of the first scene. So I'm in my jail cell and they yell action. The door opens up. And in comes Truman Capote, not Philip Seymour Hoffman, Truman Capote. And he's this little guy, and he's a little wisp of a man. And, you know, what I didn't know is that they had made his costumes bigger to make him look smaller, you know, so they're like working. So the clothes were in ratio to his actual body size. Things were made bigger to make him look excuse me. So I didn't know any of this. So I'm standing there and he walks by and I'm thinking, oh my God, that can't be Philip Seymour Hoffman. That's Truman Capote. Where's Philip Seymour? Oh my God, I can't believe this. Holy smokes. And I'm thinking all this so at the end of the take, I see him come walking towards my cell. And I'm like, uh-oh, what did I do? What did I do? Why is Philip Seymour Hoffman coming to my jail cell? And I can't really do the voice, but in his Truman Capote voice, he comes back to my cell. He leans in and he says to me, now, when we shoot this, you're not just going to stand there with your mouth open, are you? I didn't realize that everything that I was thinking in my head as he's walking by has translated to me going. So he's walking past me and I'm like, oh my God, look at that. And so when you're not just going to stand there with your mouth open, are you? So like, that's how starstruck I was. So now I'm completely flustered. So then we keep shooting, and now we're going to do a scene where the prison guards, there's about 6 of them. They all come in. They come to my jail cell. The prison guard says something. They open the door. They come in. They say a bunch of stuff to me, and then they take me out and they take me to the corner to get hanged. It's basically my oh shit moment. Like all this time on death row is gone, is done. I'm off to the corner now to get hanged, and that lets the 2 guys across the hall know that things are real now because we're next on the list. So he says to me, Bennett Miller, the director, he says, "Okay, on this one we're just gonna improvise. So I'm just gonna just go with it. Just go with it." those are dangerous words when you don't know the tone of the film. You don't know what they're going for. You don't know anything. And if you've seen Capote, it's a very slow film, and it's very drawn out in these beautifully long, super 35 shots of just wheat fields and everything. It's very slow and quiet. And so I hate improv. I'm there with lines in my head that I've practice and I'm ready to say my lines, and now I got to improvise, and I don't know the tone of it. So the guy comes to the jail cell. I go, "What? No, I don't know. I'm reading a book. What do you want?" And I'm just like, it's the worst frenetic energy acting you've ever seen. This is this turns out to be an Academy Award nominated film, but right now it's just me going, and I'm like picking up my book. I'm reading this. Don't lose this book. Don't lose this guy. I'm like making it was awful. So they drag me off. They have cut. And I see Bennett Miller, the director, and Philip Seymour Hoffman go to the corner of the studio, and they got their hands on their head, and they're shaking their heads. And all I can hear is from the corner of the studio, I hear, Ernst. Ernst. And I just keep hearing my name being repeated. I'm like, oh, that's it. I'm back on the plane. I'm going home. This is the end of this story for me. I completely ruined the movie. And he comes over and he goes, okay. It appears we're on different pages of different books. He says, we need stillness from you, Ernst, and it's clear that you don't have stillness to offer in an improv situation. So here's what we're going to have you do. The actors are going to come in. The prison guards are going to say something. You're going to say what? They're going to say what? You're going to say no. And that's it. What? And no, those are the only two things that I want you to hear from you. Everything else, do what they say, but at the same time, sort of resist that you don't want to go with them. But those are the only two things I want you to say. And so we did that. And then I remember when the film came out, my agent says to me, that is the most restrained performance I've ever seen you give. It's like, yeah, because I'm a meat puppet. I don't know anything. I just sit there and say what they tell me to say when they tell me to say it. It's like left to my own devices, I'd still be in the corner ranting and raving.
I love that, man. I love that.
So once again, cut to many months later. And that's the other thing. They always talk about knowing your, as an actor, they always talk about knowing your surroundings, knowing the situation you're in, the scene you're in, what is the, like, so for example, Perry Smith and Truman Capote are in his jail cell and they're talking. I'm across the hall in my jail cell. And as an actor, I'm sitting there going, well, this is going to suck. I can't even hear these guys. I don't even know what's going on over there. This is stupid. I can't hear nothing. And this is what's going on in my head. Well, if you know your surroundings, you know that these two people are talking about something very serious and very private. So they're sitting beside each other. The microphone can hear them. I don't need to hear them. But I'm still from the school of, performing on stage for the guy at the back of the theater, making everything big, doing assemblies and skits and all that kind of stuff through my whole school years. I'm so used to doing everything bigger than, so the fact that I can't hear what they're saying, I'm thinking this film's going to suck. This is so boring, because I'm the kind of actor, it's like when I do my set, when I would do something in a film, and I'd be at craft services later in the afternoon, and the guy would say to me, I love what you did in that scene. It was so funny. It was hilarious. I said, oh, you saw that? He goes, no, I was on the other side of the studio. Yeah. But it's like I'm so loud that everybody hears me, because I'm performing for the people on set rather than the camera. So it took me many years to realize that, I don't have to be the editor as well. Just concentrate on your job. Don't worry about who can hear you. Don't worry about which way are you facing. All the things that, when you're in theater, when you're doing stage, you're directing. The director directs you in rehearsal, but once you get on stage, you're it's your show. So, you learn a lot of shortcuts, and you learn a lot of habits, bad habits mostly, ways to act with your eyebrows, act with your eyes, to do a lot of indicating and all that kind of stuff, it's like, and so then when all of a sudden this big $500,000 Panavision camera is 6 inches from your face, it's hard. It took a long time. It's still taken a long time after 35 years to turn that part of me off. It's like they want to see what's in your eyes. They don't want to see your eyebrows telling you what's in your eyes, so and that's why I liked playing so many of those larger than life characters, like the Great Child, like the Giant Baby, like the Minor 49er, where you get to be larger than life, especially if you're in prosthetic makeup, where you're acting through, inches and inches of latex makeup. So you have to act bigger. You can't just act sad. You have to act really sad because you have to act through the makeup.
Yeah.
The problem is
expecting that too with those big characters. You're expecting that over the top.
So then when they're counting on you to play a real person, and you start acting like that, they're like, whoa. I think we made a mistake here.
The wrong person.
But what I realized many years into it, is as an actor, especially as a character actor, I wear all these crazy costumes. The problem was I wasn't taking them off. As a metaphor, I wasn't taking them off at the end of each production. I was putting the next one on top of it. So it's like after 35 years, it's like you're acting through 35 years of costume. So it's like in some way you're getting bigger and bigger because you're trying to act through all that. And the reality is, it's like when they say, just be yourself. Well, the problem is after 35 years, your little noggin up here doesn't know who yourself is anymore because you've spent 35 years either being a different character or being on set, acting one way around the director, another way around the actor, being in an audition. So now you're acting, you go to a restaurant, you act differently than you do at home. You go to the grocery store, you act different. Everybody has all these roles they play in life period. And then you add 100 films on top of that, and all those characters, and then you add your dreams and your nightmares to that, where you remember conversations you've had, or you remember things you've done that you never really did, but you remember the dream so well that after 20 years, it's a memory now, not a dream anymore. So you get to the point where it's like, people don't know who they are.
No, I'm about to say because I can imagine if you're an actor and you've done like 100 movies with yourself and you played 100 different characters, and if you're actually doing it right and you're actually stepping into those characters' shoes and their bodies, I can imagine you're living your normal life as some character,
Yeah, my wife. Many times I come home charged after being on set for 16 hours. It's like 3:30 in the morning. She's got to get up at 7 because she's got a real job, an office job. So she don't need my shenanigans in the middle of the night when I've come home ramped up on set energy, plus whatever character I've been playing. So now when I get home, you got to do this, like you got to come all the way down from, you've been spending your life in this jacked up version of reality all day. And depending on the character, if you're playing some like evil person, that's why I don't like to play stuff where, there's, sexual assault or, you're beating up a woman and all that kind of stuff. I don't need to put my head there.
Yeah.
The only time I've ever played characters like that is, and I tell this to my agent when she's submitting me for stuff, unless there's some sort of comeuppance, unless there's something where this guy is going to get his just desserts, someone else is going to, he's going to pay for his mistakes at some point. Like if it's a horror film, the woman's going to, start, like where the woman takes it out on the guy who had his way with her, that kind of stuff. If it's about celebrating assault or, just evil for the sake of being evil. I have no interest in that. I'd rather see somebody. I play a character who was a pedophile. The only reason I played that was because he basically gets sent to hell in the movie, and the devil ends up ripping his heart out. So that made it interesting to me, because the film is even saying, don't do this, right? This is what happens when you do bad things. I don't want to see some guy get celebrated so I don't want to come home with that kind of stuff in my head, but still, it takes my wife so many times. She says, can you please leave your character at the door? I don't need you bringing him in here, because, and then on top of all that, then you have all this crazed energy. So it's like you're waking your wife up at 3:30 in the morning so you can go, and then I did this, and then I did that, and then we did this, and then we had lunch, and oh my God, you should have seen the salad and the hamburgers, and it was so great. We had a barbecue, and there was lobster, and it was, oh my God, and
I would be the same way. I would be the same way. If I would be bragging if I'm riding a bus. Oh my God, you can't believe I was on a bus with Alicia Silverstone, Benicio del Toro, and Christopher fucking Walken today. I was having lunch with them.
Yeah.
But I would be bragging about that. I mean, it's pretty awesome.
And this, most of my career was before cell phones, before cameras, before anything. So I have no photos of people I've worked with. And even now, after being in the business for 35 years, I don't even own a cell phone. So I'm like the guy who never has photos of anything unless somebody has their phone on set. I'll bring my camera to work, but because it's a camera and not a phone, it's always cumbersome to have this camera. Like, what do I do with it? So you don't have the phone in your pocket kind of. So, but I end up always becoming the freak of nature on set, because they're like, can you believe Hertz doesn't have a cell phone?
Oh, yeah.
and especially I remember on Scooby-Doo Mystery Begins, where I was working with the young teenagers that were playing Mystery Inc. They were, at the time, I think they were 18, 19 years old. So they basically haven't known a world without a cell phone. So I remember we're all sitting at the Video Village, or the director's chairs, we're all sitting there, everyone's just talking, and they're all on their phones. And I remember saying something like, I don't have a cell phone. And I just see four heads go up, whip over, and they're just looking at me like I'm a circus clown. Like they've never heard of anyone not having a cell phone. And that's when I say to them, and that was 2010. So now we jump ahead 14 years, and I can still say this. I have never even sent a text.
Wow.
Ever. I don't even know what it means to send a text.
So what do you do? Did you use your home phone?
I got my landline and my answering machine, and my wife works from home as an actor. If I'm not on set, I'm at home. Who do I got to call? My wife. Well, her desk is right behind me. If I need to talk to her, she's right there. And the same with her. It's like if I'm on set, there's usually a phone I can use, or I have a tablet that I can take, and if there's Wi-Fi, I can always use Facebook Messenger and stuff. But I figure if someone needs to get my agent, still to this day, she said, do you know that you're the only person on my roster that doesn't have a cell phone? And I always think, and do you know that I didn't have a cell phone ever the whole time I've been on your roster? So why is it a big deal now? It's like, well, what if I need to get a hold of you? Then call my home. 99% of the time I'm at home. So, but yeah, it's funny. After this many years, you still get, like you were saying about being starstruck, or just coming home from set with all this energy of, I did this and I did that and I saw this person. If you love what you're doing, like I do, that never gets old. That little kid in me is always going to come home and have stories to tell my wife. Even if, as I remember on this one film I did, I came home every day, and I would show her all the pictures of the food I ate. It's like, yeah, I've seen food before. Thanks for sharing.
Right. It seems so impressive. I mean, I've been to tons of different conventions, met famous people, but for me, meeting someone who's idol status, right?
Yeah.
So there was two. One was I was at a horror convention, and I was staying at a hotel, and that night I walked down to the lobby, sat down at the bar, and Robert Englund sits next to me,
Oh
Freddy
my.
Krueger, and he literally sits next to me. I'm like, oh my goodness, I was about to spend $200 some to meet you, tomorrow. But I got to sit there for a good almost an hour and talk to him, and he bought me a shot. We took a shot, and we took a picture together for free. Yeah, I didn't see all y'all who's spending $100 some to go take a picture. I got a free picture of him, so it was such an amazing experience. But the second time, and I didn't get to talk to the person, but I was at a New York Knicks game, and I love Howard Stern. Howard Stern is like up on the list with like famous people, and he was sitting a couple rows down from me, and I was just like locked in on him the whole entire time. I was like, this is so amazing.
Yeah, it's always weird when you see, as always kid, like when you see them out in the wild, when you see a famous person just living their life out amongst the normal people.
Yes.
it's always like seeing an animal that has escaped the zoo. You're like,
yes,
what are they doing here? That shouldn't be here. I remember my wife and I went to a film festival. This was back in the early 2000s when they were shooting the original X-Men movies. And Hugh Jackman had just, I think, done the first film, and this was the second X-Men 2, and he had the big Wolverine mutton chops and everything in his hair, and we went to. I don't know if you ever heard of a movie called Ken Park. It's the guy, the movie Kids from the 90s.
Yes,
really explicit. Well, this is like even way more explicit. It's the same director, but this is like, this film barely got released because it's so explicit. I mean, there's things that I saw in this movie that I've never seen in porn, and this was so I'm sitting at the film festival with my wife, which is already beyond her limits. Just sitting there watching this movie. So we're sitting there, we're watching this movie, and there's one scene where one of the lead characters has tied a cord around his neck and then tied the cord to the doorknob in his room, and he basically starts masturbating on film, and the end result of that happens on film, and you're like, whoa, this doesn't feel, I don't feel like I should be watching this. And we're sitting there all uncomfortable watching this movie with these really explicit scenes. And out of the corner of my eye, about 2 rows up and over, I see Hugh Jackman with the big mutton chops, with his big thing. And he's sitting there watching it. Well, for the rest of the movie, it was like, watch the movie, watch Hugh Jackman, watch the movie, watch Hugh Jackman. It's like every time something really explicit or something amazing happened or something out of this world happened, it was like, how did he react?
How did he react? I know. It's like it's almost like they're above being a human being. It's weird. Like, I don't listen. I would love to be famous one day, but like, I don't know if I will get to that point where I can't just go out and enjoy watching a man masturbate and hang himself in a movie without people staring at me, and
that was before cell phones, because damn well that would have been on TikTok nowadays.
Oh, 100%.
Him in the theater watching this,
yes,
because that's what people always joke about. Is thank God there were no cell phones when I was a teenager.
Me too.
I don't think I could have got through high school. High school was hard enough without cell phones and social media. I do not think. I can't imagine.
If cell phones and smartphones were what's called, I say it all the time, I would be probably dead in jail or like a drug addict. Like, I feel like, or I would got raped or molested by some pervert or something. Like, because like, oh my goodness, like Facebook, social media, and even like online dating sites and all that. As a kid, as an adult, I've been on dating sites, right? And I've seen underage girls when they're pretending to be, So, like, I can imagine I would do the same thing in high school and, like, put myself in a bad situation. So, like, yeah, thank God.
Because parents are like, Johnny's just up in his room playing video games, is all the parents think. You know,
Oh
that kid knows darker parts of the internet than you've ever known.
And the amount of porn I would have been consuming at that age. I mean, think about every type of porn. Back in listen, I'm from the '80s. I was born in the '80s. To go to
Get
porn,
the corner of the Sears catalog to the underwear section.
But to get porn at one time, right? You had to be committed to being a pervert. Like you had to go in broad daylight most of the time and walk into stoppers. You had to walk into a video store and there was this curtain, right? A red curtain, and you had to walk past and walk past that with a big old box, and the porn boxes were huge, right? They were fucking ginormous with a big old X on them, right? And then you had to walk back out as everybody's looking at you. Walk out with that.
All the ladies from church getting their
everybody, and then have you noticed too? And then let's say if you're like, fuck this, I'm not going to the video store. I'm gonna run to somebody in there. So the only other option was going to a porn video store, and porn video stores are always on the busiest road in town. They're always on the busiest road in town. So you almost have to put a fucking costume on to like go into the porn store and get back in and out. But anyway, but now you don't have to do that. You can be a pervert on your cell phone and watch whatever kind of porn you can
on the bus
for free.
On the city bus.
For free. And guess what? It's only the good parts. Like they take out, you know what I mean? Back in the day, you had to rewind through all the fucking talking and so forth.
Yeah, because back in the old day, they were still trying to make movies.
Yes, they made porn into movies, and I always wonder, like, what weirdo is sitting there watching a porno?
Well, when I first moved to Vancouver, I was so green. I was the suburban virgin who knew nothing, about the big city. I'd never seen a cockroach. I'd never seen a hooker. I'd never seen, so I knew nothing about the real world. And all of a sudden, I'm living in Skid Row downtown, and the guy at the bar where I was living says, "You ever been to the movie theater up the street there, like 2 blocks over and across the street?" I said, "No." He goes, "You should check it out sometimes. It's an adult movie theater." And I thought, wow. So you don't have to deal with all the kids running around? I thought an adult, just like when I was a kid, I was like 13, 14 years old. I ran away from home. I got in a fight with my dad and I ran away like kids do. Jumped on a bus and took off to Toronto, Ontario, to the big city. I'll show you. And I remember walking around and the same thing. I saw a thing. It's an adult bookstore. And I was like, ooh, I've never seen an adult bookstore. You mean there's like an entire store where there's no pictures in the books? This is the kind of stuff I'm thinking. It's just all words, right? So I walk in and it's like all of a sudden I'm seeing things I've never seen before. I was like, oh, that's what an adult bookstore is. But yeah, that movie theater was that was the first time I went into it. I didn't know what an adult movie theater was until I'm sitting in the theater and you start hearing things all over the theater and you're like, oh.
You had to be you had to be committed to your perversion. Yes. To go into that movie theater or that video store or go in that rental store and go behind the curtain. See, now, I mean, you had to be a real man or woman back in the day. Now, you can go hide in secret and watch your perversion and no one has to know.
Yeah, but the only problem is now you have 9-year-olds that have seen way more things than I still haven't seen in my life. And their brain is not ready to deal with what they're seeing. And now you're going into relationships with other men, other women who are coming from the same background and they're all messed up. So, the things that kids are doing now, it's like the amount of different types of porn that I didn't even know existed, and then you find out, like I did a thing with the Soska sisters. It was for ABCs of Death 2, and their little bit was about torture porn. I had never even heard that term. I didn't even know what that meant. And so she started showing me some things, and I was like, but this wasn't like the stuff she was showing me wasn't like, it was like on regular porn sites. And it's just, most of the stuff is just girlfriends who have guys have taken their ex-girlfriends' stuff that they had for themselves and have just posted it online.
But I say this all the time, and listen, people can disagree with me. People who are really into horror are also into weird sexual stuff. I'm not talking about pedophile stuff. I'm talking about BDSM, nasty knife play and shit like that. I'm a firm believer of that. I 100% notice, like, you know what I mean? So, like, I would never ever date a woman who was 100% into horror because I'm terrified what she's into in the bedroom. You know, I do not want to wake up in the middle of the night and now I got a butt plug with a tail in my ass. You know what I mean? Like, and I do not want to creep down that road because I know that women who are really into horror are into some weird, twisted shit when it comes to in the bedroom. And that's not for me. I'm pretty bland, by the way, in the bedroom. I thought that I was some kind of crazy thing. Nah, I don't like ass play or knife play or blood play or any that shit. Nah, I'm good.
Well, when did choking become a regular thing?
That's horror women. They're into choking and all that fucking shit. Slap them. So I'm not going to jail. Well, so that's why I'm saying what horror people who are really, really into horror need to date people who are really, really into horror. Because I thought I was really, really into horror, but I'm not. Because I'm not into that shit. But people, like-minded people need to come together. Because imagine, like, you're really into horror. You're a guy. You meet this lady. I'm not into horror. This and that. And you're like, well, I want to piss on you or something. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's huh? Like, and that's how it is. Like, I say the same time. I say the same thing. You go to a BDSM club and you go to a horror convention, right?
Yeah.
The same people who are at the horror convention are at the BDSM club, but naked.
Yeah.
So just envision that.
And then, and by being a fan of both, that allows them to see what happens if I go too far. You know,
yes.
It lets them live it out to see it manifest. It's like, this is what I like to do, but what if I one time wanted to go further with it, or if I wanted to hit harder, or if I wanted to do this, and then they watch the films and they can play it out for themselves. It's the people who go see like Terrifier 3 and go, boring.
Yes. Like, and I go to Terrifier 3, I'm like, oh, this is fucking awful. Like, you know what I mean? This is not something, yes, the people who are really into Terrifier 3 and they're like, oh my God, I love when he chopped that fucking. They are the people who are into BDSM. I'm 100% sure. I'm not even saying BDSM. I'm talking about they're into some depraved sexual shit. I'm 100% sure on this. This is not me. This is not my assumption. This is much like I'm signing this off 100%. I know this for a fact. As someone who confession has been to BDS clubs just for, let's call it, it's literally the same people who are at horror conventions are the same ones at those weird sex clubs. 100%, but they're naked. That's the only difference. Well, I mean, the same build, the same look, the same smell. Literally, the same people at horror conventions are the same ones that are at the weird.
Now, just imagine you meet up with these people, and the first thing you notice is your face is on their arm or on their leg. You know how many times I've had, I say to my wife, I go, oh my God, look at that guy. As we see somebody in the crowd, and I'll think to myself, wow, look at that guy. That's a commitment. That's a look. You know, you think to yourself. And then as they approach closer, you realize, oh my God, that's my face on his arm. You know, the amount of times I've seen my face on people's bodies. A guy sent me a photo of his tattoos from 13 Ghosts, and right there on his thigh is my face. And the thing that freaks me the most of all, being a character who is iconic enough to be on people's bodies, is for the most part, all of the ghosts in 13 Ghosts are these crazy, larger than life makeups. Okay. Mm-hmm. And then I'm just me. You know, think about it. I got my hair shaved, and they left a bit of the tuft in the front, and we dyed it blonde. But beyond that, this is what you see. So just imagine there's people that wake up with this on their body. It's freaky. I'm not seeing Freddy Krueger. I'm not seeing Jason. I'm seeing Seer and Stars on this guy.
Ernst, I thought I was a big horror fan. I really did. I thought I was a big horror fan until I started going to horror conventions and getting these indie horror groups. Listen, I'm a horror fan who has a lot of knowledge about horror, right? But I'm not. Listen. I'm not a huge horror fan. I'm not because I. By the way, I love all my subscribers and all my stuff, but I am not. No, I do. You will never ever hear me claim to be the biggest horror fan anymore. You will never ever hear me claim that. I'm a fan of horror and I'm a horror guru. Not the biggest fan of horror, not a huge fan of horror. I love horror and I have a credible knowledge of horror filmmaking.
Yeah,
that's what I am. All right, Ernst, where can everyone find you, my friend?
My biggest presence is on Facebook, and that's CEHARTH on Facebook, but just see Ernst Harth there, or on Instagram, or on Twitter. I refuse to call it X. I'm still on there, but my wife's now trying to get me on Threads, so we'll see where that goes. But yeah, Facebook, and if anybody wants any of my characters, 13 Ghost character, or Dreamcatcher, any character that you know me from, come to my page, and at the top, pinned to the top of my Facebook page is all the information. It's $30 Canadian, which is like $22 US. Shipping's included. It's cheaper than seeing me at a convention, and I'll still personalize it for you. I always find it funny when it's like, can you please not personalize it? It's like, okay, I really believe you're going to keep this.
Yes, exactly. By the way, I saw that, speaking of 13 Ghosts, I saw that Shannon Elizabeth only personalizes her autograph at these conventions. And oh my goodness, it pissed horror fans off.
Yeah. I think people can sign it however they want to sign. You're asking them to sign your thing. They're going to sign it however they want. When you used to, in the old days, if you ran into somebody on the street and you gave them a piece of paper, you said, "Oh my God, can I have your autograph?" They're going to write whatever they're going to write. Yep. This thing now of you're not getting it unless it's personalized. I will not sign it. If that's what they want, that's what they're going to do. And then I see all these posts. Does anyone know how to dissolve, magic marker, or how to, and they talk about the different chemicals you can use to wipe off the personalization. What gets me is when I see posters that have been signed by the cast of different films that I saw one for Scooby-Doo 2 Monsters Unleashed, and I contacted eBay and I said, that's fake. And they go, "How do you know?" I said, "Because that's my autograph." And they're like, "Yeah." And I said, "And I didn't sign that. So, but how do you know it's fake?" I said, You're not getting this, are you?" It's like, that's my autograph. I did not sign it. It's not real. And then I had to go through so many hoops trying to get them to take it down, take it off. And it's like, then they send me these proof of intellectual property and this nonsense and that. Oh my God. It's like, fine, sell it. I feel sorry for the people who are buying these things thinking that the entire cast has signed it. But a lot of times, like for example, with the Scooby-Doo, I can guarantee you that everyone that you see signed on that poster has never been in the same room. So I don't know where they signed this. I also take, I take mail-ins too for the same price. So I get people sending me like 13 Ghost posters and Scooby-Doo posters and Trick or Treat posters, and then I sign them. And that's how I knew about Shannon Elizabeth, because in the last few months I've gotten a bunch of posters where either Matthew Lillard has signed it and Shannon Elizabeth signed it. And the Shannon Elizabeth ones always have a personalized greeting on it. But I think if you want to meet a famous person, they're going to sign it however they sign it. The reason why people charge the prices they do is because they realize that fans, in the old days, fans were excited to meet you. They'd get an autograph and you'd cherish it and hold on to it. And once it became a big market, there's an aftermarket in selling these things, and agents are like, wait a second. You're selling that photo, you're giving that photo for free, and then they're turning around and selling it for $500. We should be getting a piece of that, know? And that's, fans did it to themselves, really. That's why you go to these shows now and you see guys selling stuff for $78, like Mark Hamill and stuff, because there's such an aftermarket of this stuff.
It's outrageous now. That's why, like, one of the things, like, I'm a huge autograph collector. but it's such an expensive hobby anymore. I only do it if it's like somebody I really, really, really want.
Yeah.
It's such an expensive hobby, and like I don't. And I see people who like go to a horror convention every damn week.
Yeah, I know people who've had to get second jobs to pay for their hobby.
I know one. I know one. And like, by the way, Jeremy, a great subscriber, but he like travels the country just to get these pictures and autographs, and like he has a second job to afford that.
I mean, it's great. Everyone has a passion, and everyone's got a hobby, and you're going to put money into your hobby, whatever your hobby is going to be. But that's a commitment. That's like the guys that used to travel the country and go to all the different Grateful Dead concerts and everything. Yeah. It's like it's the same concert. No, it's not. it's a different concert every night. I can't. I could never. It's like I remember when the last year and a half of Leonard Cohen. His life, my wife and I saw him at the beginning of his world tour, and then at the end of his world tour, he was coming, like wrapping around, like doing a complete circle, and he was ending his world tour in the same city where he started it, kind of thing. And even then, it was like, I'm getting to see him again, but I just saw him like a year ago. It's like back and forth. The cheap part of me is like, what am I paying to go see him? I already saw him. Yeah. But then the other part is like, he's not going to be alive much longer. Shut up. You want to see this guy. He's a legend. You got to go see him again. But yeah, I love that fans are passionate, but I don't have enough money to be spending that kind of money on stuff. And then, I can see if I'm going to spend $600 on an autograph and you don't want someone to sign it all over the place, and then they beat this big personalization stuff on it and everything, I'd be pissed too. But you know what? Meet them on the street someday, somewhere, and ask them. Just be happy you're getting to meet them, because
I met Alex Winters, played Bill from Bill and Ted during COVID, and he didn't want to take his mask off. So, and he was charging $60 for a picture. I'm like, well, this is my only chance I'm going to meet Alex Winter. I've never seen him at a convention before. So I have a picture with Alex Winter wearing a COVID mask. And I mean, nobody probably knows that's Alex Winter, but I know it's Alex Winter.
You met him. It's like, if I met someone famous in the winter and they're wearing a wool cap, they're wearing a toque, a winter coat cap, a winter hat, I'm not going to tell them to take the hat off so I can get a picture with them. So it's the same thing. It's like someone's wearing a big. I got a picture with when I did a film with Ken Jeong, and he's got his big warm up coat on. So many times on sets, especially stuff that shoots up here in Canada, all the people from the States. These people who are very frigid, apparently. I'll be walking around in shorts and a t-shirt, and they're all bundled up in they got their hand warmers and they got their big parka jackets on. So I got a photo of Ken Jeong, and he's wearing this big oversized jacket, because it would never occur to me to say, "Excuse me, can you take that off for my photo?"
Yeah. I was just like, whatever. Okay,
who's in the photo.
I got to meet Alex Winter. I mean, I wish he wasn't charging $60 for COVID photos, but I was just like, I gotta meet. I watch this movie. My sister and I watched this movie a billion times, both Excellent Journey and Bogus Adventure, a billion times growing up, over and over again on VHS tape. He's here. I got to meet him. Say this, because I'm probably not going to meet Keanu Reeves.
Yeah.
This is pretty cool.
Did you see the newest one?
Yes, and the new one came out during COVID, and the the movie theaters were closed, but we have a drive-in here. I'm gonna shout out to Vincent's Drive-In, and we have a drive-in, and they were the only movie theater that was actually showing Part 3, and I got to see it. I saw it 2 times at a drive-in
on the big screen.
Yep, on the big screen. So,
yeah, I can't tell you the last time I've been to see a film. I was definitely before COVID. I can't tell you the last movie in the theater. It's probably something I was in, so whatever that would have been. The whole movie going experience has changed with cell phones, and like I said, because I don't have a cell phone, it just irritates me that much more when everyone around me is on their phone. You know, it's like when I take the city bus, if I'm on the city bus, and it's like I'm just sitting there looking out the window and enjoying the day, looking at the scenery, and not a single soul on the bus has their head up.
No, no. I mean, because I live in Baltimore, which is Baltimore, Maryland, which is a pretty busy city, right?
Yeah.
Young people almost walk into my front of my car or walk right into traffic because they're looking at their phone. Like, it's like, whoa, there's so much in front of you. Enjoy life. Like, you know, I mean, you know, I listen, I have to take that advice sometimes myself because, you know, I have a full-time job. I do this YouTube channel. People are messaging me constantly, boom, boom, boom. And I have to even remind myself, sometimes put the fucking phone away. Like, I went to see Terrifier 3. But no, I'm sorry. Support indie horror. Support indie horror. But yeah. But I had to remind myself to just put the phone away and sit back and enjoy a movie or sit there and enjoy a date or whatever. Like, you have to like stop, because this right here it will eat your life away. It really will. Like, sometimes you just got to put a pause on it.
When my wife and I are watching TV, and they'll say up in the corner, they'll put up a hashtag, and they'll say, "Tweet live with us now." And I'm always thinking, well, aren't you watching the show? As soon as you start tweeting, now you're not watching the show. Well, which is it? Are you watching or are you tweeting? You can't. It's the same thing as people who say, "I've got full attention on the road. I can talk on the phone while I'm driving." It's like, okay, if you think so, but you're still in your head on the phone.
But I don't know if you've been to a concert recently, in what I'm saying recently, in the last 10 years. People literally watch the whole entire fucking concert through their phone.
Yeah, and they're never going to watch that video.
But I'm like, what's the point of video recording? I can understand if you want to do a quick snip, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But no, you're going to record the whole entire fucking concert. Who are you recording that for?
Yeah, no one. You're never even going to watch it. It's just another thing, like the 7,000 photos people take on their phone. It's like there's a chance. You're not
going to post a 2-hour concert on Facebook, and no one's going to fucking watch it. Like, no. Like,
people used to zero in and live the moment and be there and watch the famous person they've gone to see, their favorite band, whatever. I just bought tickets. My wife didn't want to go, so I said, I don't care. I want to go. So I bought one ticket to go to the new Kylie Minogue world tour in April. So I'll be up in the top balcony all by myself. And if I'm telling you, if the people around me are filming it, sit down.
They're 100% going to be filming it, because I've been to a couple concerts, I would say, in the last several years, and it is the most fucking annoying. Please leave in the comments to people, what's the point of video recording the whole entire concert, or even an hour for the concert, or 20 minutes of concert? Please leave in the comments, what is the point? Because I don't understand the point. Maybe because I'm old or something, I don't get it. But like, to stand there and watch the camera, to watch concerts are expensive. They're not cheap. To watch a whole entire concert through the screen of your fucking phone. That's what you're doing. You're watching the whole entire thing through the screen of your phone. Why? Why not just sit at home and just watch a concert when it comes on DVD or something?
And if you're close enough to film it, then you paid a lot of money.
Yes. And you're missing the experience. I don't get it. Listen, maybe I'm old, so I don't get it. Listen. Ernst, it's been a blast having you on, man. Listen, everybody.
Thanks for having me.
Follow Ernst and go check out 13 Ghosts and everything else he's been in, man. There's some great movies there, man.
Thanks a lot for having me. Thank you.
All right, everyone. Well, thank you for coming to the Horror Realm. I'm Travis Bruce, and that's Ernst Horror. We'll see you next time. Take care.